Are we actually going to do this?
We most definitely are.
So you want me to talk about a sport I've never actually played before? I believe it was your idea in the first place. I'm very conflicted about it. I can't even lace up a pair of skates. Can't skate. Well, I can manage to go around anti-clockwise. Oh, and I can't stop either. We're not talking about stopping. We're talking about starting. Maybe just talk about how much you like hockey. Now that you mention it, it's true. I do very much like watching hockey. And there's probably plenty others out there also been introduced to the sport when they first moved here, trying to adapt to a strange new country with donuts. Just stick to the subject. Did you just say donuts? Who, me? No. An apple fritter. Hello, my friends, and welcome to No Idle Talk. This will be weekly reflections on all manner of topics from yours truly. As I sit here in a cold, damp, lonely basement, preparing for what will be an arduous winter with the pandemic raging outside, I'm thinking, how did this ever come to be? Let's get back to the script. No, you're right. Sorry, got carried away there. Welcome to No Idle Talk. Daily reflections on all manner of apple fritter. Sorry, on you go. Oh, by the way, you got to keep this under 10 minutes, okay? Come on. All right, okay, don't rush me. Wee bit sensitive here. Today's topic on No Idle Talk is sports. This is the hockey segment, or rather, the hockey segment for non-hockey fans, not in the traditional sense of the word. Unbelievable. Take it easy. Don't think I like that guy. I was never a hockey fan. Had no idea what a slap shot or where the 5-hole even was. Even names like Wayne Gretzky, Bobby Orr or any other hockey gods were unknown to me. That was the summer of 1988. By next summer, I had picked my team. That turned out to be a very poor choice. And I'd been to my first live game, a 6-1 home defeat to the Calgary Flames. But the seed had been planted, the damage done, and I had found a new friend in a new country. So this idea of attempting to describe the attraction of a strange new sport to those perhaps unfamiliar with a hockey puck came to me this summer. It's not too dramatic, is it? Dramatic? No, not in the slightest. I was reconnecting virtually with old friends overseas, and at one point encouraged them to start watching what was the mainly successful conclusion to last season's Stanley Cup finals during the ongoing world pandemic. I forced them to pick a team just for laughs with absolutely no prior knowledge of that team's likelihood of winning. It turns out their selections did far better than my predictions. But trying to explain why I even watched what was to them chaos on ice was the motivation for this. So you can all blame those three stooges in Scotland for being the reason I'm now boring the arse off everybody. So what do we want to achieve here? What's the purpose? We're going to have a laugh. That's what. Like all sports, it's not always about winning and losing. And I'm getting very familiar with losing. Being no expert on this game is such an advantage. It's one of the reasons I love the game. I'm glad I'm not one of those critics that finds the faults in poor coverage and takes great pleasure in pointing out missed assignments. Nah, I did enough of that when I watched football, for years. And never having played the game helps with the innocent enjoyment too. I know just enough about hockey to enjoy it for what it is. So here's what's on tap. I'm not going to be covering stats or analysing strategies, won't be bothering trying to explain hockey rules and regulations. I don't know most of them, and they keep changing them anyway. Let's find the fun in the game again. Less statistics, more joy in the drama of this game, far more than any other in my opinion. Is there anything in the sporting world more exciting than a Game 7 sudden death overtime? I don't think so. I've been observing this, I believe, special sport ever since I came to Canada. Spent way too many winter Saturday nights puzzled by the mysterious battles and rinks all over the country. I drank my fill of delicious beers, but was only a little wiser for the hardship. And with your help, I'll share these impressions on an unsuspecting public. That you finished? Sorry, I just nodded off a bit there. I'm just getting warmed up. Okay. Give us a shout when you're finished. Here, at last, it's all you ever needed to know about the upcoming National Hockey League season in all its sanitized glory and imposed restrictions. Yes, it's true. You will all soon have just as little information and insight into this mental game as I do. And I've been trying to make sense of it for over 30 years now. Ever since Ron Hextall, the unpredictable Flyers goalie, tried to behead Chris Chelios in the 89 playoffs, I was hooked and totally confused. My head was buzzing with questions. Not about Hextall. I mean, as I later found out, his attack was retribution for an elbow to a teammate's head, and when the game in the series out of reach, launched himself at the unsuspecting Montreal defenceman in a delicious, justifiably joyous act and a 12-game suspension. But back then, confusion raged inside. And I'm still looking for answers. For instance, why block a frozen puck with your face when you're losing 4-0? Or someone decapitates you in the middle of the ice, and it's your own fault? Or how about the severity of the penalty is dependent upon how much you bleed? What? As my favourite one, not a lot of people know this one though. You know that there's a player on the bench whose sole task is to pick up the broken teeth off the ice and return them to his toothless teammate. Would these players do anything to win? It turns out they very nearly always do. I have a lot yet to uncover, but a quarter century is plenty long enough to inform the uninitiated without exposing myself as the charlatan I undoubtedly am. This is Hockey Haven for those left out in the cold by a strange, ridiculously fast, highly skilled and at times brutal game, played on ice by giants and speedy artists, sometimes speedy giants. But those guys are rare and are allowed to score at will. So come join me, a once passionate football fan crushed many times over by a desperately annoying team in Scotland to take to a sport that pulses with the rhythm of a country. And as luck would have it, I have again found another frustrating team to replace the previous one, maybe even worse than the last. We shall explore the lifeblood of a nation and be highly entertained by the sharp and witty analysis of what should be a very interesting season. Or will it, I hear you say? You did say that, didn't you? I don't think I heard anybody say anything. I think they've left. But this is the best part. This is the conclusion. Let's concentrate on only one of the 4 divisions, if you don't mind. And why would you? As the pandemic continues to remind us that we can't do as we please when it pleases us, we now have 4 very different looking divisions of 8 teams. The North Division only has 7 teams, the all-Canadian group of 7. This northern contingent will be where we will spend most of the time. I'll have greater access to the goings-ons in all these cities, towns, villages and Toronto, with its state-of-the-art traffic jams. We could maybe have a look at other teams south of the border, not called Florida. But the game has different rules down there, the one major law being that no Canadian team ever be allowed to win the Stanley Cup. For the wannabe hockey fans out there, this is where you'll find a wealth of misguided opinions and wild speculation to keep you enthralled throughout the season. Or until we find that these teams are so fed up playing each other at least 9 times a year that even they're going to get bored. It's difficult to tell at this point, whether this compacted schedule of 56 games, having missed over 3 months, will generate and rekindle the rivalries of old, or be a real drab affair through overexposure and no fans. A bit similar to a regular season Ottawa Senators game. 4 months have now passed since last year's Stanley Cup was lifted by a deserving Tampa Bay team in a mostly empty arena. Although that competition did have its moments, understandably it lacked the bite of a regular playoff for me. And at least half of those teams seemed to buckle far too easily in the earlier rounds with unconvincing exits. The game with at times too much heart had less than was needed. Several teams entering this season haven't played a competitive hockey game since mid-March. 2 months shy of a full year that tested everyone's resolve. Nevertheless, this season will provide great entertainment when we sorely do need it, I am sure of that. The players will see to it. A 7-team all-Canadian division? Sounds like magic to me. Hope springs eternal, and a guarantee that one fortunate Canadian team will be in the Final Four. And that's not a bad thought. Game on.